Besides the falls, Grove Hill is the most prominent geographic feature of Chagrin. It's remained remarkably unchanged since this land was settled nearly 200 years ago. I'm sitting in an area where hundreds of others have sat in the decades and centuries before me. Austin Church probably sat near here. He was a member of one of the settling families, and he wrote about this place.
Grove Hill was owned by Mr. Graves, but it was always out to common, and cows running at large kept it mowed like a lawn. It was a lovely place. People went out for a walk, nearly always went up there to sit and rest and look off at the surrounding country. In the fall of the year, when the leaves all over the forest were in their color and greatest beauty, there was no spot or place so enticing as Grove Hill.
Thankfully, hundreds of others will be able to sit near here in the future and enjoy this spot, because the residents came together to save Grove Hill.
Grove Hill has always played a really interesting role in the history of Chagrin Falls. The original founder of Chagrin Falls, Noah Graves, and one of his partners in business both chose to build their homes up here on Grove Hill. And Noah Graves built his on the western end of Grove Hill, and Charles Sears built his on the eastern end. And it was a place that people came to look out over the village. You could see the whole village developing. Another unique feature of Grove Hill is the Work Projects Administration Wall. During the Depression, there were many projects around Chagrin, but this was pretty unique, and we have great photographs of it. The Bancroft House here was built in 1878, and Mrs. Bancroft was known for her flowers. Over the past 20 years, the house has kind of fallen in disrepair, and the property was purchased by a developer who ended up wanting to demolish the house and break up the lot and put in condominiums. And a remarkable thing happened. A group of citizens got together and were able to forge a relationship with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, create momentum in the community, and they were able to save this house.
We didn't want to see it developed.
We needed to do something that was going to protect the land.
By putting this property at issue, the developer really struck at the heart of the community. This is the iconic property in Chagrin.
We started to get in touch with our neighbors and sort of organize around it.
There was this Architectural Board of Review meeting that was going to happen on November the 19th.
We attended that meeting to find out, really what was going on, because there was a lot of mystery. No one really knew.
But when we walked into the meeting, the first sentence from the developer was he had changed his mind and he was going to tear down the Bancroft house.
My fear really at that point was that plans would proceed sort of unobserved, and bulldozers would be here and things would be lost without people even realizing what was going on.
That was a galvanizing moment for us. The next week we had a letter written to the newspaper, we had the Gmail account, and then 2 days later, Brian Drum, my neighbor, built this amazing website from scratch that had all the materials, all the information you could possibly need, including links to the PDF version of these plans and the developer's statements about what he was going to do.
I saw something on Save Grove Hill here, and I immediately jumped on it, and set up a Facebook page, Save Grove Hill. That became a primary communication tool.
A lot of people started having questions about the Grove Hill history and what was happening here. And so we thought it was really important for John to put on one of his programs on the history of Grove Hill.
We had Chagrin Pet and Garden helped us with getting signs out to people.
One of my employees had the sign in his front yard on Bell Street in South Russell. I called him, I said, "What is that?" He goes, "I don't know, my wife got it." And then that started the ball.
I started playing around with online petition sites. It's like, I couldn't imagine walking door to door. And when we launched it, it was so exciting. Every couple hours we called each other, we were like, "Did you see how many signatures? Did you see?"
We were all willing to spend hours sending emails to people asking if they'd sign the petition, asking what they'd be willing to do to help. And then it felt like we had this supportive network behind us.
We were able to get so much attendance at the meetings that City Hall was filled.
What I love about Chagrin is that people are engaged and people are involved and they're smart people with interesting things to say. And so it was really neat to see that many people show up for a cause, because when that many people show up, things really do happen. Things really can move in a different direction than they would if people sat by and watched passively.
My wife Mary, she was head of the Land Conservancy for many years, so we were very close to the Conservancy. And Rich was a good friend.
So Bill called me and we met and told me about the project, and we came over and walked around, and I decided this was definitely what we wanted to do. The mission of Western Reserve Land Conservancy is to create healthy habitats for all of the communities of Northeast Ohio. And by healthy habitat, we mean beautiful places like this, and this is what we call a keystone property. So what we do in keystone properties is we intervene and basically take the property out of the market through a market transaction. We actually have to buy it, of course. We immediately reached out to the developer who had purchased the property. I also immediately reached out to the mayor, and he said, you know, if you guys can make that happen, the village is all for it.
When the residents took up a grassroots community effort to acquire the property and the Land Conservancy joined in for an open market purchase of the property, I thought that was the best solution.
And then we worked with the Save Grove Hill group, and they all said we can raise the money. And then we knew we could sell the house for something. We didn't know how much, but we knew we had that in our budget as well.
How did we raise $600,000 during a global pandemic? I can't tell you how many people said it could not be done. We did have one generous donor who gave $200,000, so that was a great starting point. And the Historical Society also contributed.
And then we also did a Grove Hill raffle. Reed Carpenter brought in the whole Tiger Pride and having each class donate.
You know, I don't know what the final figure is, but I think it's someplace in the order of around $120,000, as I recall.
It brought the momentum we needed to cross the finish line.
This really was such an empowering lesson in community.
I think what we learned is, I mean, you really have to pay attention to what's going on.
Success is obviously restoring this beautiful historic home, which had fallen on hard times, but we found an amazing preservationist who's it's gonna be here 100 years from now. You know, he's gonna really do it right. And then of course the village is gonna build a beautiful preserve below us, and it'll be a keystone property now in Chagrin nearly forever.
It's a true testament to what makes Chagrin Falls such a special place.
From the very first settlers to the residents of today, Chagrin Falls has always been blessed with people who want to make the community a better place to live. And knowing this community, Chagrin residents will keep rallying around causes as long as the water continues to flow over the falls. I'm Jan Jones. Thanks for watching.